I've recently traveled down to Austin for the Tesla shareholder meeting. And if you've ever been to a Tesla event like this, you know the magic isn't just what happens on stage. It's the people, the community, the conversations in between the scheduled events. We had pre-parties, we had after parties, we had meetups all over the city. We met at restaurants, we even met at superchargers. We had private gatherings with other members of the Tesla community. And because we were moving around so much, we needed transportation. Sure, we could have just used an Uber or Lyft. Austin actually has plenty of options, including Waymo. But listen, when you're in Austin for a Tesla event, surrounded by Tesla people, why would you not try Tesla's Robotaxi service? And that's exactly what I did. And I learned a lot of things about the Robotaxi that just people don't seem to be talking about yet. Some of it was frankly awesome. A lot of it was downright boring, kind of as it should be. And there was one thing that happened at night that really made me ask myself whether or not Robotaxi was ready for prime time. And I'll tell you more about that later in the video. But before we dive in, I'd appreciate you going down there and tapping that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscriptions are always welcome. Now, my experience encountered a lot of surprises. And the first surprise was this. I do not have access to Robotaxi. Well, it wasn't really a surprise. I knew that in the app that I didn't have it, but I was hoping that being part of the shareholder meeting, they would have granted me access. They didn't. I tried, I applied, I just didn't have access. In fact, most people don't have access to the service. But fortunately, another owner of a Tesla was traveling with me to the shareholders meeting, and they did have access. So that's how I was able to experience all of these rides. Now, right away, we hit our first limitation with the service. We tried to call a Robotaxi from the Austin airport. Nope, can't do it. Tesla Robotaxis do not serve the Austin airport yet. They are in San Francisco currently, and I expect them to go to Austin eventually, but right now, Austin was off the table. So the first official ride to the future actually started in an Uber. So here it is. The future is here, but right now it seems to be relatively contained. Now, once I got into my first Robotaxi, my first thought was this. This feels just like sitting in my own Model Y running some form of V14 of FSD. Except this time, I wasn't the supervisor. Someone else was in charge, and there were people sitting in the driver's seat. Yes, the driver's seat. Sitting there with hands hovering at 4 and 7 the entire time, ready to take over if anything was needed. Now, we found during the weekend that some of the cars had supervisors in the passenger seat. Some of them had them in the driver's seat, and there was speculation that the highway-capable cars for Robotaxi required a supervisor in the driver's seat. So when you order a Robotaxi, you're going to get what you get whenever it arrives. You can't guarantee it's going to be in one or the other. Now, for our rides from the hotel, we had a driver's seat supervisor, likely because the hotel was near highways. Because of this, you might not be able to ride with 4 passengers. 3 is the practical limit until supervisors are removed. Now, the software looked just like V14, but there were some subtle differences. There was no car menu that I could see. There was Robotaxi labeling all over it, and the familiar blue stripe that you have for FSD was replaced with a gold one. It felt like V14 DNA, but purposefully tuned for Robotaxi. And from what I've heard, there are actually multiple versions of the Robotaxi software out there being tested in Austin. Some look like V13, others like V14 without the driver profiles. The ones that I wrote in looked exactly like V14 and actually had the profiles listed. Now, I don't know if they were able to change them because the person behind the wheel wasn't allowed to do anything. More on that in a second. Now let's switch gears and move to the back seat where we were sitting, and let's talk about the rear screen because the rear screen is frankly amazing. When you hail your car, all of your climate preferences automatically show up. Your music is right there and ready to go. You get live updates on the trip, on your progress while you're driving, in addition to the app, and you can also look forward on the front screen. There's a support button to call if you have any problems. Again, more on that later. And there's a ride stop button if things get dicey and you just want to get out. It really feels like this is a real commercial ride service, not just FSD with a different skin. But for the most part, the drive that we had was smooth, as it should be. Austin roads are rough, but the car handled them quite well. That said, there were some challenges. First challenge was there were long wait times due to limited availability. Sometimes they were giving us wait times as long as 40 minutes. On top of that, we would book a ride, and not long after we booked it, the ride was just simply canceled. And there were points of time during the day we just couldn't get a ride at all. There were issues where we had wrong drop-off and pickup points that required short walks to get to the car or to where we needed to go. For example, my hotel was brand new and not fully mapped out in Google, and the Robotaxi had us walk about a block to pick us up at one point. An Uber driver would have driven right to the front door, and it did when I used it. Then there was the pre-party detour at the sign bar that happened right before the shareholders meeting. The Robotaxi turned one street too early into a private area past 11 o'clock at night. It stopped, hazard lights were flashing and blaring right into the window of whoever lived there. I'm sure it wasn't pleasant. The supervisor said, when we asked them that this was the wrong place, can they back out? They simply said, I can't do anything, and we had to hit the support button and call support. We actually asked them to turn off the blinkers, and he said he couldn't do that either. Now, we pressed the support button, and it took actually a couple of minutes before we heard someone get on the support call through the car speakers and talk to us. Now, after explaining the situation to the person on the other end as thoroughly as we could, I suspect they dropped the pin at the right place, and the car proceeded to back up and do a three-point turn. And by the way, I've never had my FSD 14 car do its own backup three-point turn, so there's some special sauce going on there. But once it backed up, it went around the turn, got us to our final destination, and dropped us off. The whole thing cost us roughly an extra 10 minutes, and overall, it was a minor inconvenience, but it was an inconvenience nonetheless. The supervisor is there only for emergencies, and you cannot ask them to do anything other than what they would normally do in case of an emergency. You are there as if that person wasn't there at all. Now, once Robotaxi goes fully unsupervised, and I expect that it will soon, these limitations are going to probably be there more frequently, and you're going to be needing to deal with service. However, you're also not going to be having to worry about whether or not the driver in the car is someone that you can trust and isn't going to cause you any harm. So you could argue that once they go driverless, this is going to be a safer system overall. Now, overall, my ride experience was mostly perfect, even with the road conditions in Austin, which were quite frankly rough in places. It didn't feel dramatically different than my own Model Y running a form of V14, except in this time, I wasn't responsible. The rear screen in the Robotaxi is excellent. The app is very Uber-like, but I will admit that it's not completely full-featured yet. And here's where it ties back to the shareholder meeting. When Tesla stands on stage and says autonomy is happening fast, this is exactly what they mean. Most people outside of the room just simply don't realize it. We talk about it as a future concept, but this trip was proof that the future is unfolding right in front of us. Tesla isn't just a car company, it's an autonomy company. Some robots walk and some robots drive. We are literally watching Tesla change transportation in real time, and it's hard to believe that it's been less than 6 months since the rollout. And I genuinely hope the next time I'm in Austin or San Francisco, I get direct access to the Robotaxi service myself. Now, once Robotaxi fully opens up to the public, globally, the entire world flips. So what do you think? Would you trust riding in a Robotaxi today? Let me know below in the comments. And while you're down there, do me a favor and tap that like button. And if you're new to the channel, subscriptions are always welcome. And if you want to start your own Tesla adventure, make sure you use a referral link. iowateslaguy.com is a great place to start. Thanks so much for watching. We'll catch you on the next video.